On this episode of At the Aga Khan Museum, a piece of art that was crafted over centuries, and Canadian-Ukrainian musicians who blend folk songs with techno sounds. Hello, and welcome to At the Aga Khan Museum. I'm Amirali Alibhai. Our museum's mandate is pluralism, engaging different cultures so that we can learn from one another. Many of the objects in our collection reflect the perspectives and values of different civilizations. We've got a story about one piece that was not only crafted in different places, but over several centuries.
The journey of the Oliphant started in Africa. It's a tusk that, by the shape and size of it, we are quite sure that it came from Africa. And then it traveled through the ports, probably in Tunisia. It traveled to Italy, probably Sicily, somewhere in southern Italy. And it's made in 11th century. We can see that the craftsmen started working on it. What has been carved on the tusk is animals chasing each other through the whole body of the Oliphant. At the top part of it, you can see kind of a battle between a human and animals, because this tusk probably was used during the hunt. So the images show that they have their roots in an older imagery that was present already in Africa. It was either done by the craftsmen who were traveled themselves through North Africa and came and settled in Italy, by the local craftsmen, but then inspired by the art and the crafts that has been traveled. Oliphant was used in different ways. One is when you blow it during the hunt, but also there's an indication that if you close one end, and then it can be used as a drinking vessel as well. After it was made in 11th, 12th century, we don't know what was the life of the Oliphant between that time until early 17th century. But looking at the mount shows us that it's when that it reached England, and from a particular family in England, that it gave it this mount, and it stayed in that family. It's made from silver. The mount looks like actually a claw. There is connection between the claw and this emblem that was used by the family. Once it received this mount, probably it was used as a decorative element and cherished for its beauty. It has been used probably just as a gift that shows that land ownership, because again, hunting and land ownership were connected. So as well, this Oliphant might as well represent the ownership of a land. There are different ways to look at this object. To me, they are not mute objects. They have a history that is alive and it's carried over with them. And then we are part of their history as well. I'm seeing the connections that people had with nature, the connection that they had together, the connection that they had with the material. We are all connected. Nature, us, people, no matter what, we are all connected.
Coming up a little later in the show, we'll hear the fascinating blend of musical styles that is Balaklava Blues. Mark and Marichka Marczyk met in 2014 during the Ukraine's Revolution of Dignity, a clash between protesters and police. Since then, they've turned the turmoil experienced in their homeland into gripping art, with the goal of taking their story to the world. Their ensemble, Balaklava Blues, fuses folk sounds with EDM moods. Combined with a multimedia tech show, Balaklava Blues performances are arresting and emotional. We're going to see one of the songs they performed here in a few minutes, but first, here's a conversation I had with Mark and Marichka. You were talking to me earlier about this being a center devoted to Islamic art. What is Balaklava Blues doing here?
We're talking to a friend of ours, or actually the son of a friend of ours who's staying with us from Ukraine. And he's coming to the show tonight, and he said, you know, why are you guys performing in an Islamic center? And the first thing I said to him was like, well, first of all, we're not playing in Islamic, we're playing at Amir's place. And that means, you know, when you get welcomed into anybody's home, you know, then you're there to play for you know, you're a guest and you're there to share your culture. And that's something that's really special that we take seriously. And then on the other side, I said, you know, it speaks a lot to the vision of the place, because Would you have gone and spent today at the Aga Khan Museum had it not been for us performing there? And he said, yeah, probably not. I said, well, because of us, because of them having the vision to bring in the Ukrainian community and give a space for us to perform and share a story, you're now going to be, introduced to this incredible architectural monument in Toronto and space for Islamic culture that you wouldn't have otherwise been exposed to. So, I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. There's also this shared kind of audience and experience of being a community that is not indigenous to this land, that is a settler community. And there are more refugees in the world today than ever before. And, the Syrian refugees, the Ukrainian refugees, the Afghan refugees, we're finding this place to be together. Why is folk music important?
It's died tradition, like any folk music, because we already lived through the genocide since the communists came to Ukraine. They tried to destroy our language, our culture, and of course, first of all, they destroyed and rebuilt a fake new one tradition and bring into the villages successfully over 70, 80 years already. So these small pieces, like I called it archaeology, it's very hard to find in the villages. Nobody remembers these songs. It's not on radios, it's not anywhere. You find in people and trying to dig into their memories to remember what their mothers sing to them. It's very hard.
So that's how you did it. You actually asked people, what did your mother sing to you?
I actually go into the villages, knock into the door in a random time in the summer, asking to sing me carol songs. And it's hard because you're disappointed and people work and they're like, what? Why are you asking for these songs? And you're trying to explain, there's a please. I'm I just want to record it and learn it. And the memory works that they usually trying to remember lyrics and songs over the night when you're already gone. So it's better to come to the next day because they're like, oh, I remember. No, and it's piece by piece, piece by piece. And it's it's a polyphony. You have to record not only one voice. It's better if another elder woman lives in the village and can sing together. Or you record it over and over to build these multi-part harmony songs. So every single piece of the songs, this is archaeology, musical archaeology.
That's a really great analogy. Yeah. And I think that, has the meaning of that work that you've done, the research that you've done, changed now given the situation in the world?
It's lots of attention now to the language. People switch Russian language to Ukrainian a lot. And I just came from Ukraine a couple days ago, and it's very surprised me how my Russian-speaking friends, including actually myself, switch to Ukrainian language and talking to kids, not watching Russian movies, not watching cartoons in Russian language, only Ukrainian. So language is growing right now, and the interest to culture, everybody buying now embroidered Ukrainian shirts. It's never happened before. And my favorite example, how culture growing up in this situation, when our culture trying to be destroyed, it's a big venue in Ukraine for 3,000 people. And it's one poet performing there in this kind of space that only curtains, no video, nothing. He's reading his poetry, and it's 2 shows every single day sold out. So it's 6,000 people in a wartime coming to listen one poet reading poetries. It's never happened before.
Art and music and poetry, they often take on the most meaning and power
And a voice.
In moments of trauma. When people can't turn to logic, or when they're feeling incredible ecstasy or love and they can't explain it, or they're feeling pain and loss, those are the times when people they don't turn to science in those moments, right? They turn to art. The war, in a lot of ways, it's a war of identity. I mean, it started with a very simple theory that Ukrainians don't have a right to exist, that it isn't a sovereign nation, that it isn't a specific culture or language, that these are all just instances of expression of Russian culture and language. And so when we tie ourselves, or when we start to explore all of those deep roots of our traditions that have been passed on from generation to generation, it sort of is a validation that that's not true, that isn't true, that there is a vibrant culture, there is an incredible people and warmth and philosophy of life that is starkly different from that exists in Russia. And it doesn't surprise me that folk tradition is at the center of that, and why it's become so much more popular in the last little while.
And you're not just presenting it in the form that you've heard it, you've done something with it. You've actually made it very contemporary. Can you talk a little bit about how that works for you in your music?
When you're mixing something, first of all, of course, like you're being creative. Second of all, you can bring this meaning in a modern form, and open this door to learn more about like how it exists in tradition, like through this like modern sound.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of two things that are playing against each other. One of them is that we found ourselves after, Marichka and I, we met during the Revolution of Dignity in 2014, and I tell this story often, even from stage. You'll hear today that, our first dates were literally on burning barricades, singing requiems to, requiems for the first kids who were shot and killed at the hands of corrupt riot cops. These very traumatic but also ecstatic experiences, like meeting my wife. I felt a need to express that in a different way, to add different layers, and that's where different layers of drums and synths started to play against the traditions in really, I thought, cathartic ways. And Balaklava Blues was sort of born out of that. And as we started to do that, we realized, we're connecting with different people. We're not only connecting to everybody that we know in our community, but that community is growing. There are people that we're touching that we didn't before because we were in this folk world. And now with these new sounds that people are, in touch with via pop music, EDM, hip hop, more, popular contemporary forms, we're now opening up a conversation in a broader way than what we did before. And that was really exciting to us because, we're not those artists who are like, the artist first, and we're all about our art, and I don't care if anyone understands it. Because of the political nature of what we're doing, and because all of our work is tied to expressing Ukrainian identity and asserting that space for Ukrainian culture and identity, we want a lot of people to engage in that conversation. So exploring that, like this musical forms that would open it up to different people was really exciting.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Mark and Marichka, and I look forward to your set very much.
Thank you so much.
Us too.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Єдине землі припали, до землі припали.
Тут вони сіли, тут вони впали, до землі припали, до землі припали. Тут вони сіли, тут вони впали, до землі припали, до землі припали. Тут вони сіли, тут вони впали, до землі припали, до землі припали. Тут вони сіли, тут вони впали, до землі припали, до землі припали. Тут вони сіли, тут вони впали, до землі припали, до землі припали. Тут вони сіли, тут вони впали,
До землі припали.
Tell me what to do. You should me, I should you.
Thanks for joining us at the Aga Khan Museum. You know, if you can't visit us here in Toronto, you can follow us across our social media platforms. We have a lot of great content for you. I'm Amirali Alibhai. We'll see you next time.